The illusion of love focus. Differentiate between love and the need to be desired. Explore Freud's views on libido, narcissism, and the ego ideal. Use Fromm's The Art of Loving, love as an active decision versus emotional dependency. Show how validation mimics love but lacks depth. Real-life examples: someone chasing people who don't love them back, social media obsession with likes and DMs, people feeling in love when they're praised, and out of love when ignored. Quote, "People think they fall in love, but they fall into dependence." Erich Fromm. Childhood, trauma, and the root of the addiction focus. How unmet childhood emotional needs attachment theory create adults who seek validation to soothe those wounds. Use Bowlby, Winnicott, and Freud's theories. Introduce the emotional high of being seen. Real-life examples: adults repeating childhood rejection cycles, people choosing unavailable partners, emotional masochism in toxic relationships. Quote, "The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth." African proverb. The ego, the mask, and the performer focus. Freud's model of the ego and superego. Jung's persona. How people perform in relationships. To be liked, constructing versions of themselves for validation. Explore the difference between being loved and being performed for. Real-life examples: people curating entire identities on Instagram, men, women over-adapting to seem attractive, losing yourself in a relationship just to keep it. Quote, "Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism." Carl Jung. Why validation feels like love focus. Neurological and psychological mechanisms. Dopamine addiction. Reward centers in the brain. The danger of intermittent reinforcement. B.F. Skinner. Tie it back to relationships. How? Being loved inconsistently increases craving. Real-life examples: obsession with emotionally unavailable people, the breakup spiral, missing the validation, not the person. Romantic withdrawal. Quote, "We are not afraid of being unloved. We are afraid of being unseen." Alain de Botton. The science of healing focus. Contrast everything with modern neuroscience and psychology. Real love. Oxytocin, safety, security. The nervous system's regulation in healthy relationships. How self-worth reduces addiction to external validation. Authors to cite: Gabor Maté, Bessel van der Kolk, Brené Brown, Dan Siegelend with Empowerment. The goal isn't to stop wanting love. The goal is to stop mistaking being seen for being loved. Quote, "Healing is not becoming the best version of yourself. It's letting the worst version of yourself be loved." You don't want love. You're addicted to feeling validated. There's a kind of heartbreak no one talks about. It doesn't come from being left. It comes from being ignored after you've shaped your entire identity around being noticed. You post a picture and your stomach clenches, not because you care about the photo, but because you need to see who'll react. You check their story, hoping they'll see you in return. You dress for them. You laugh louder when they're around. And when they finally compliment you, your chest fills with a heat that feels like love. But it isn't. It's recognition, approval, temporary evidence that you matter. For now. This isn't romance. This is addiction. Somewhere along the way, love stopped being a choice and became a transaction. One where attention is currency. And if you're not being noticed, you're starving. This is the era of mirrors. We don't date people. We date our reflection in their eyes. We crave the version of ourselves that appears when someone desires us. And when they stop, we disappear. Not just from their life, but from our own sense of self. You say you want love, but is that really true? Would you still want them if they didn't flatter you? Would you still chase them if they made you feel ordinary? Would you still love them if they didn't make you feel special? No, you wouldn't, because what you're really after is the feeling of being chosen. It feels good to be seen. It feels necessary to be validated. But those two feelings are not love. And if you've built your emotional life around the highs of being wanted, you haven't been in love. You've been in withdrawal. As Erich Fromm wrote in The Art of Loving, to love someone is not merely a strong feeling. It is a decision. It is a judgment. It is a promise. But a promise doesn't feel like a rush. It feels like commitment, boring, consistent, real. And we're not addicted to real. We're addicted to fantasy. We chase unavailable people, not because they're right for us, but because the struggle feels familiar. Because in our minds, if we can earn love, maybe this time we won't be abandoned. Maybe this time it'll be different. But it's never different. You don't need to be in love to suffer. You just need to be uncertain about whether you matter. And that uncertainty, that sweet ache of maybe, is the drug. Welcome to the video. It's not about how to find love. It's about how to tell the truth. You don't want love. You want proof that you're enough. Let's begin. The illusion of love. There's a tragic irony that follows most people their entire lives. They believe they're searching for connection, when all they're really doing is searching for someone who makes them forget how empty they feel. This isn't love. This is anesthesia. You say you're in love with her, but the truth is, you're addicted to how important she makes you feel. You say you can't stop thinking about him, but what you really mean is, he makes you feel worth thinking about. You've confused being high on attention with being held in affection. The illusion is subtle, but devastating. Freud wrote extensively about this confusion in his theory of narcissistic object choice. He argued that many people don't fall in love with another person. They fall in love with the version of themselves they get to become in the eyes of the other. Love then becomes less about connection and more about reflection. The ego is not master in its own house, Freud once wrote. He meant it literally. Our conscious self is constantly being puppeteered by unconscious drives, especially the hunger to feel whole. But instead of confronting the void, we dress it up. We call it romance. We write songs about it. We chase unavailable people to validate our wounds and call that passion. Here's the real horror. You might not be addicted to the person. You might be addicted to the pain they cause. Why? Because pain makes you feel alive. Because a love you have to earn feels more real than a love freely given. Because validation feels more valuable when it's rare. And because somewhere deep inside, you don't believe you're worthy of being loved without condition. Erich Fromm, in The Art of Loving, writes, "Love is not a result of adequate sexual satisfaction. Love is the active concern for the life and the growth of that which we love. But active concern doesn't spike dopamine. It doesn't feel like euphoria. It feels like stability. And stability is boring when your nervous system is used to chaos. So instead of choosing someone who brings peace, you chase the one who brings a storm. Not because you're stupid, but because the chaos feels like home. You grew up associating love with inconsistency, so now you mistake emotional unavailability for passion. You confuse their silence for mystery. You confuse your obsession for intimacy. And every time they pull away, you chase harder. Not because they're your soulmate, but because the withdrawal is unbearable. Real-life example. He texts you only when it's convenient. He disappears for days. You know, rationally, this is not healthy. But your brain doesn't care about healthy. It cares about the hit. And when he finally comes back with, "I miss you," it feels like salvation. You're not in love with him. You're in love with the relief. Validation mimics love the way a drug mimics healing. It works fast, it hits hard, and it leaves you emptier than before. What makes this illusion so seductive is that it almost feels like love. It's dressed in intimacy. It sounds like affection, but it's built on performance, not presence. It thrives in your insecurity. You don't love them. You love how they momentarily silence the voice in your head that says you're not enough. And they don't love you either. They love being needed. They love the way you inflate their ego. They love the power they hold when you beg for crumbs. This is not a relationship. It's a hostage situation. Fromm once said that most people see the problem of love primarily as that of being loved, rather than that of loving. This is the heart of the illusion. We measure love by how much someone desires us, not by how deeply we are able to give. But giving takes strength. Loving takes courage. Validation requires only one thing: emptiness. So when you find yourself aching for someone who doesn't love you, pause. Don't ask, why won't they choose me? Ask, why do I need their choice to feel chosen? The answer will hurt, but it will be real. And that's the first step out of the illusion.